Hold on. And microphone. Okay. Okay, we're gonna do it to it. Welcome, welcome. Aloha folks online and the folks here in the room. Thank you for joining us today for a very special presentation with some very special guests, human and otherwise. So my name is Thomas Daubert. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this month's Princeville Moʻolelo. Appreciate you joining us in community around all these great conservation conversations. Before I ship you over to the folks you really want to hear from, a brief little blurb about who we are, what we do, how we help as a friends group. I'd be remiss if I didn't put in a little bit of a plug, but see some familiar faces, so I'll move quickly. We are, of course, the friends group that helps support our island's 3 national wildlife refuges. We were established over 42 years ago, so we're one of the oldest friends groups in the service with a long dedicated history of providing meaningful support for this work. And we do that, our why, what gets us up in the morning is helping support the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, that amazing team with their support of our native Hawaiian wetland birds and migratory birds at Hanalei and Huleia National Wildlife Refuge, and of course our seabird populations at Kilauea Point. What we do as a friends group, essentially, we are a gateway to support bringing the generosity of our community in support of this great work through time, talent, treasure, all of those good things. So we provide direct funding that helps fill in the gaps for programs at Fish and Wildlife, provide in-kind staffing support, and then like we're doing today, going out and building community and connecting with community. And so I'm not seeing nearly as many faces in the room as I wanted to today, but I'm really delighted. We have some folks online, and this will stay on our YouTube channel and will be a part of our permanent archive. So I'm really pleased that we can archive this conversation and the great message here, and folks can come back to that again and again. So super quick, some of our pillar programs of what we do as a friends group. We are really proud to help provide financial support for wildlife rehabilitation for birds that are picked up from one of our 3 refuges and transferred into the expert care of Save Our Shearwaters. We do outreach and communications, as I mentioned, connecting with the community from keiki on up to families, and helping to educate them about the species and the protected spaces that they rely upon so that they can thrive, and the great work of U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service as they help perform those management work. Environmental education is a big part of the future of wildlife conservation. So bringing keiki in alignment with and awareness with the wildlife that we support. And one of the ways that we do that is helping to underwrite free buses for keiki coming out for the wild Moʻolelo life, what is it? Life Cycle of the Moʻolelo program, excuse me. Creating these really meaningful experiences for 3rd graders as they come out, perhaps for the first time to Kilauea Point. We end up talking to folks when they come into our visitor center. Families will come in and I'll say, when was the last time you were here? And they kind of look up and say, you know, I think it was actually my field trip when I was part of it. And it's like, first of all, it's been too long since you've been here. And second of all, I'm really glad that we touched your heart with that work. And so we know you just never know how that's going to go out into the world. And so that's a program we are really passionate about, as well as education on the other end of the scale. We have a scholarship program in the name of Daniel Moriarty, and we are in the open application period. So if you know anyone in the community who is studying on a 4-year degree or a 2-year program in any kind of wildlife conservation-based career, we want to talk to you and we want to be a part of your future. The investment of this work will ripple out for generations, and we really never even know how well that's going to come back and impact our wildlife and our island. So application is open until April 30th. There are links right on our website. If you know anyone, please point them to us. I'd be happy to chat with them about the application process. But from its very heart space, the main reason that we are here is to help fill in the programs for Fish and Wildlife. And for years, we have been helping to expand and kind of do the additional work that Fish and Wildlife wants to do. In the last year or so, things have gotten very challenging with destaffing and defunding. And our work as a friends group to connect the generosity of the community to help privatize some of this work has never been more needed than it is today. And I've been really, really moved and impressed, and just has really touched my heart to see the generosity of our community as they understand these needs and step in to support that in really meaningful ways. And last year, we dedicated over $200,000 in support towards refuge programs. And it's truly a high water mark from us. We're honored to serve in that capacity as a friends group, but really it's the thank you to you and the community that's making that work possible. So huge mahalo to you, huge gratitude for the work of Fish and Wildlife, and we're really honored to serve in that middle place as a friends group. If you're not already plugged in with us, there are a number of ways that you can help. Please visit us at Kilauea Point, shop our nature store, where every dollar of earned income goes right back into our programs. Volunteer with us, join or donate, and all of that generosity again gets plugged into the programs that we just discussed. Follow us on email, and you'll receive the monthly newsletter that I produce once a month and be able to see images of the great work of Fish and Wildlife and help remain a part of our community. So we appreciate us building and sustaining a community that is in alignment with this incredible work. A quick peek ahead to the next presentation. We have on March 10th, we are scheduled to have Kisk join us for a conversation about rapid ohia death, probably additional information about CRB mitigation, and all kinds of great things that we really need to be mindful of as we as humans come into this work and see what we can do to help reduce the spread of disease and all the things that we've introduced into our world that we need to tamper back. So we'll hear from today's speaker, Kim Rogers, is going to come back again next month with some really great continuation of some of this conversation. So huge mahalo to Kim for being a twofer. Mahalo, mahalo nui. But I'm going to get out of the way here because you have a real treat for us. We're going to hear from Kim Rogers and Matt Cataleta, and we have some very special guests here, the ones who are working in partnership with these incredible teams as we send in the dogs to help learn how humans and animals are working together to help reduce and mitigate this horrible CRB challenge that we are facing as an island. So I'm just so honored to be able to work alongside and see the many, many hats of Kim, as in particular of the different work that she does. And the Conservation Dogs of Hawaii have been an incredible partner for many years on many programs, including avian botulism mitigation. So just huge heart blessings to Kim and the entire dog team and to these four-legged friends that work so hard for us. So with that, I'm going to get out of the way and welcome Kim Rogers. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Year ago, and that's you.
Fabulous. Thank you all for being here tonight. The real stars, though, of the show are this one in here and one in the back. That's Sunny back there, being a little exuberant. She's a big girl, so she's a little harder to contain. And then there's Minnow, who's my girl. Let's see if I can get her on camera here. Come on up, babe. Come on. Come on. There we go. Can you see her? Yes, look how cute she is. Anyway, okay, back in your kennel. Maybe she'll make an appearance here and there throughout. But yes, so I'm Kim Rogers and Matt Cataleta, my colleague. We represent Conservation Dogs of Hawaii here today. And we want to talk about how we're using dogs to help in the effort to mitigate the spread of Coconut Rhinoceros Beetles on the island. I'm hoping everybody, raise a show of hand. Anybody hear about CRB here? Okay. So there is a lot of talk and awareness about it. For that, we're very grateful. Again, this is Sunny and Matt in the back of the room. Can I stand where? Over there? Oh, because you can't see the screen. Am I still on that screen? Okay, thank you. And then, of course, that's me and Minnow in the bottom right-hand corner. She's about a quarter of the size of all of her colleagues, of which there's 4 dog teams. This is Rafi and Lance. And then we have Brego and Hunter. And Brego is such an overachiever that he actually needs 2 handlers. So this is Brego and Gary. So all 5 adults and 4 dogs have been certified in this effort. And we can't talk about this program, though, without talking about our trainers. So on your left, Kyoko Johnson, who's the founder, the leader of Conservation Dogs Hawaiʻi. We're going to hear from her in a minute in a video. And on the right is Marley Monahan. And this is Zephyr, I believe, with Kyoko. And with Marley is Penny, I believe. And Marley is an addition to this program and a wealth of information because she is actually a full-time dog handler, CRB dog handler. She and Penny work together on Oahu, and they work for USDA. So she has a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge to share with finding CRB larvae, and because it is a tricky target odor, if you will, for dogs to find. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. Here's a little video from Kyoko talking about Conservation Dogs of Hawaiʻi.
Art Petroleum Foundation was established in 2016. Became active under the trade name Conservation Dogs of Hawaiʻi 2019. Utilize the extraordinary olfactory abilities of dogs to detect invasive species, mitigate their impact on the wildlife and ecosystems of our islands, and to detect endangered and protected species for research and conservation purposes. A little bit about our projects, both past and present. Devilweed is an invasive plant that impedes the growth of native plants and is toxic to livestock, therefore a high priority for the invasive species committees of all of the islands. Our invasive plant detection program is supported by all volunteer dog and handler teams from the community. In addition to conducting individual field surveys, our teams participated in annual group outings to get ahead of the flowering season. This past year, we were also hired by the Lake Island Invasive Species Committee to assist their efforts in detecting and eradicating the pest. In 2017, CDH founder Kyoko Johnson participated in a study to determine the efficacy of detection dogs for avian botulism surveillance. Avian botulism is a type of food poisoning that can kill native water birds. Early detection of affected carcasses prevents further disease spread. The study was successful, so in 2020, CDH was hired by Honolulu National Wildlife Refuge to help establish their in-house canine program. The program is still going strong. From 2020 to 2021, we collaborated with UHN pathologists to conduct a study to determine the feasibility of dogs detecting fruit fly infection in teens. The dog's accuracy was 90+%. This fruit fly affects many fruits that could be exported from Hawaii to the mainland, but are currently restricted. So it's a high priority for agriculture industry. Starting 2021, we have assisted biologists in locating endangered seabird burrows on the Big Island. This helps with population estimates as well as with targeting predator control efforts in order to help protect these species, such as Hawaiian petrel and Bandurm snow petrel. In 2022, we conducted a trial to assess whether dogs are effective in finding down seabirds in cover. Seabird chicks fly out to sea for the first time in the fall season, but can get drawn to artificial lights and then fall to the ground due to exhaustion or injury. Early detection of these birds raises their chances of survival. In our September detection trial, the dog team found 90+% of targets, and the human visual searcher found 56%. The spread of invasive species across islands is devastating to our ecosystem and economy, not to mention to our residents' well-being. This year, we'll begin training dogs to detect coqui frogs and little fire ants in inter-island cargo, such as nursery plants and construction equipment. In 2023, we also hope to establish a program that uses dogs to screen vessels and cargo for invasive ants in northern Detecting and preventing the transport of these pests will not only protect on Twitter @CBH Sniffer Dogs, or on Amazon Slack.
So now, to that video you might have picked up on is a couple years old, but it does give you great background on all of the projects that Conservation Dogs Hawaiʻi has worked on, and also gives you an idea on just the breadth of ways we can use dogs, right, to help us in our world. And many of those photos you may have seen somebody that you recognize here from Kaua'i, Deborah Go Cross, who has been with Kilauea Point National Wildlife Refuge and Honolulu National Wildlife Refuge for years and years and years. And she and her 2 dogs, and David, her husband, have helped tremendously getting this program of using dogs in conservation off the ground, and showing that it is effective and it can be used to save birds, or in this case now to detect CRB. So a little bit of background though on the CRB project and how we got where we are today. So in 2023, May of 2023, I think it was, the first detection of Coconut Rhinoceros beetle was discovered in a trap near the airport. And unfortunately, since then, the CRB presence around the island has kind of exploded. And it's on north, south, east, and west sides. And so in 2024, Deborah Go Cross and a couple other people did what we refer to as a proof of concept study. Like, would it be possible to use dogs to help in this effort to slow the spread of CRB? And the answer was yes. So the result was that the County of Kaua'i funded a grant for Conservation Dogs of Kaua'i to train other dogs to get involved in this. And so there was a call for dogs that was put out, and Matt and Sunny and Minnow and I and our fellow colleagues responded yes, that we would like to participate and help out. So we started training in spring of last year, and it was spring, summer, and it was not until November of 2025 that we got our certification. So we went through months of training, lots of repetition. In November of 2025, we were certified, which meant we were now ready to do surveys for the general public. But before I talk about that, we have to take a step back and talk a little bit about the beetle, right? This is the Coconut Rhinoceros beetle. We need to understand a little bit about its life cycle, how it survives in our world, what it eats on, in order to figure out how we can then step in. What are you doing? Minno's getting a little fancy in there. So this is an adult Coconut Rhinoceros beetle. And to give you an idea, perspective of size of them, here's one in somebody's hand. So they can grow to about a length of 2.5 inches. And they have a horn on their head, their back, which is how they got the name rhinoceros, Coconut Rhinoceros beetle. And this is the kind of damage and devastation they can do. This is, anybody know where this is? Wailua Golf Course, yeah. And I like to say that it's such a sad sight and everybody sees it. So if we have to get this particular invasive species on Kaua'i, it's almost a good thing it happened where it did, because it's now like the poster child. People see it, they see the damage. It's visible. Lots of invasive species, ones that I work with, are in the forest or somewhere where people don't see them. And we as a people, until we really see things with our own 2 eyes, then we believe it, right? Sometimes we can't convince people until we see it. So as sad as this can be, I also like to point out, just because a tree shows some damage from the Coconut Rhinoceros beetle does not mean it's a death sentence. Palm trees can recover, they don't automatically die. Okay, so I know people on this island, friends of mine, who, oh my gosh, I have CRB damage, and they cut their tree down. You don't need to do that. Here's a close-up of one photo to give you an idea of what the damage looks like. Those are those V-shaped notches that we see here. So this is classic damage. The damage happens on a new frond when it's still in the sword, the spear stage, still coiled up, right? And the Coconut Rhinoceros beetle adult is noshing at the base of that spear. That's where the juicy, yummy food is that they like. But it can take months then for that palm frond to unfurl and then for us to see the damage. And by the time we actually see the damage, there's a good chance the beetle that caused it is long gone. Yeah, so they don't just hang out in that one tree and keep noshing on it. They will fly from tree to tree. They have the ability, we're told, to fly up to 2 miles. They can fly up to 2 miles. They have wings. You know, they're beetles. Like Southeast, the question is, do we know where they came from? And yes, Southeast Asia. Yeah. But coconut trees, or coconut palm trees, are not the only source of food for these invasive beetles. They will also attack and eat hala, kalo, sugarcane, banana, pineapple, and lolu, which is our native fan palm here in Hawaii, highly treasured. Many of the varieties and species of lolu are endemic to certain islands and certainly endemic to our state of Hawaii. But when it comes to dogs, we're not focusing as much on the adult beetle as we are with the larva. And here's a close-up shot of the 3 different stages the larvae go through, very much similar to butterflies, the metamorphosis or the life cycle of butterflies. You've got different stages, right, before they pupate and become an adult. And in this photo, we have in a hand, you can see what's called the first instar stage. That's the smallest of the larvae, the second instar, and the third instar. And this is important for us to know the life cycle. And briefly, I'll go through this with you. An adult beetle lives to 3 to 5 months. Female, when she's ready to lay eggs, she will drop down out of the tree into breeding material, which I'll talk about in a minute what that means. And that's where she lays her eggs. And she can lay up to 100 eggs-ish, give or take 100 eggs. And then those eggs stay in there. And the egg is about the size, smaller than a single grain of rice, okay? And after a couple of weeks, that egg hatches and we hit what we call the first instar stage. And they stay in that small larval stage for a couple weeks. Then they start growing. They get to their second larval stage and they are in that size again for another couple weeks. And then they get to this big size, the third larval instar, and they can be in that size doing their thing for 3 to 5 months. And then they will pupate. And the pupa lasts for about 2 to 3 weeks before they then metamorphose into a full-on adult. So we like to say in general, this process, while it can change and it might be dependent on climate, takes on average like 6 months. So it's a long time, right? Which in a way is good because that allows us time to find the larva in the breeding material where they might be. So speaking of breeding material, let me talk on that a little bit because this is how we determine where we can take dogs and survey, right? So any breeding material can be anything that's decomposing, any plant material that is decomposing, but decomposition is key. So that could be mulch. And by mulch, it's typically like something that's been chipped down in small sizes. It can be a green waste pile that lots of us have on our property, off in the corner of our property. And it can be compost. So all of these 3 are prime breeding habitat. But we also have logs, decomposing logs, or tree stumps. So if you have a tree stump that you've cut down, even if it's to the base of the ground, it's still got a bit of a root system. So that as it starts to decompose, could become prime breeding habitat for CRB. Standing dead trees. So if you got a coconut palm, you know, and it's still got 6 or 8 or 10 feet of the trunk left to it, as it starts to decompose inside of it, it can become breeding habitat. These are all, we are learning from what's happened on Oahu, right? And these are places where CRB larvae have been found. They can also use potted plants and potting mix. So you may have heard in the news about CRB larvae being found in various outdoor stores or landscaping stores or nurseries or whatever, where they sell bagged mulch or soil. CRB larvae have been found in there. So those are all places. And if you want to learn more about coconut rhinoceros beetles, I cannot recommend highly enough crbhawaii.org. It is a website that's doing a whole lot of science behind this project and hoping to provide the necessary material and knowledge and know-how and competence that we need to address this problem. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about CRB, much more than I've already shared, because that is what the basic of what we need to know in order to use dogs. So again, we're using dogs to find the larva. If we can stop the breeding sites, catch them before they pupate into adults, that's the key, right? Because I like to say that if I could get like little mini booties for Minnow that had cleats on them and she could climb a palm tree, she could go after the adults, but I'm just not seeing that happen yet. I kind of think it would be fun though, you know, and Kyoko, I'm sure, could come up with a way to do that because she's always thinking of new and creative ideas. But again, if you want more information about CRB, crbhawaii.org, highly recommend it. But why dogs? Let's talk a little more specifically about why dogs are amazing, not only for this project in particular, but in general, how we use conservation dogs. And we in Hawaii are not the only ones using conservation dogs. Aotearoa, New Zealand has been using them for decades, and there's lots of people around the world, on the continent as well, who use conservation dogs for a myriad of different things. But why, right? And it all comes down to this right here. The nose. Their nose is super sensory. Dogs have up to 300 million olfactory receptors. 300 million. That's compared to humans who have about 6 million. So that's quite the advantage that they have. They are like super Olympians when it comes to smelling. And approximately 30% of a dog's brain is dedicated to smelling. So that's a significant portion of their brain, which for us, right, what's our primary sense that we use and make our way in the world? It's our sight, it's our vision. So for dogs, it's their nose. Here's the other cool thing. Dogs can breathe in stereo, meaning one nostril at a time. And that helps them target and, you know, pinpoint the odor and where the source is coming from. They can also sniff and, wait, I say sniff and smell. I mean, sniff as in breathe and smell at the same time. And you know those little flaps that dogs have, like right here? They can like, you've probably seen them if you have dogs and you've seen it up close. They can waggle that, right? And that's their way of creating these little vornadoes, you know, these little vortexes of scent as it's, you know, moving around. Again, helping them pinpoint scent, identify a particular target odor, and find exact source and location. So that's just some background on why dogs are amazing. Oh, hang on. So next we're going to jump to Kyoko. We're going to go back to Kyoko. And she's going to introduce this particular program and tell you a little bit more about how we're using dogs specifically and how we're training them. Because when we go out and we do surveys, we get asked questions a lot about how did you get the dogs to do that? So I'm going to share a little bit about that.
I'm the founder of Conservation Dogs Hawaiʻi. I'm also the lead instructor for the dog team. We got funding from Kaua'i County, very fortunately, to train volunteer dog teams to look for the coconut rhinoceros beetle. And that is an invasive beetle or insect that decimates the coconut palm trees, unfortunately, which is a staple in Hawaii. So it's very important to do what we can to protect them. So the dog teams are going to be looking for the CRB larva, so the earlier stages of the beetle, hopefully before they become adults and start to attack the palm trees. So we first started off by introducing the target odor or the species in a very simple container format. All the dogs have to do is sniff the containers, and many of them will have it, and we, you know, basically mark it or tell them that they're correct and follow it up with treats or a toy until they, you know, start to understand that they get rewarded for sniffing that odor. And then we started to put those targets in the environment, not buried at first, so that it's very straightforward, in simple placements so that they don't have to work too hard to find it. Once that's in place, we start to bury it a little bit in mulch, in soil, make the hide placement a little bit more difficult. So we kind of layer the training so that we make sure that they're having a good understanding of what we want them to learn, and then we add the additional challenges over time. So we're conducting maybe bi-weekly weekend group training sessions where we actually have an instructor come out to Kaua'i and work with the dog teams one-on-one. We run exercises with each of the dog teams. They all learn from watching each other run their dogs as well. They also get homework or training assignments to do on their own time. We also supplement that with Zooms where we all get together and discuss training concepts, challenges they might be having in their own training, what to expect in the field and all that kind of stuff. If the dog teams are successful and we are able to certify them for field work, we're really hoping that they can get out there and help plant nurseries or greenway sites and even private properties that could benefit from CRB surveys, so that we can find as many breeding sites as possible, eliminate them and curb the spread of CRB as much as possible, so that hopefully Kaua'i doesn't get to a state that Oahu is in. But beyond that too, it would be wonderful if these dog teams eventually wanted to cross-train their dogs or train other dogs to do additional invasive species work, whether it's little fire ants or something else that might come up.
So a couple things I want to break down from that. First of all, you may have seen all the dogs are using long lines, right? So we use long lines. All the dogs work with a long line. And typically, with this cute little harness that says working canine on it. And let me tell you, this is adorable on Minnow because she's like pushing 20 pounds, dripping wet. And it just makes her look so official. But look, she saw me get that out and she's standing, her tail's wagging. She's like, let's work. She knows what that means because that is the only time. That's her uniform. That's her work uniform. The only time I use that gear with her is when we're working. And she knows it. She likes it. She also knows her colleagues. When she sees Sunny, when she sees Brego, when she sees Raffy, she's like, okay, we're going to work. So they enjoy it. They have lots of fun. You also saw in that video, there was some balls being thrown, and then there was treats being given to different dogs. Part of the process was finding out what's going to motivate, what's the best reward we can give them. That's going to be rewarding for them because we want them to be having fun. And if they're not having fun, they're not going to work for us. So, for example, Minnow is ball crazy. Like I play ball with her all day. Thankfully, I have a chuck it. But when it came to this work, I found the reward that worked better for her was a treat. Oh, I said the word. But we have like Raffy, who's on our team. He's a Belgian Malinois. He's ball. It's ball, 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 all ball. Sunny is treat focused. She's got some lab in her. And then Brego, who he's got some lab in him too, but he is also very ball crazy, like Minnow. But when he works, he gets a treat reward. So that takes time, right? All that takes time to figure out. That was part of our training. This is our odor recognition stage. I just wanted to show a little bit more about that. We started with what we call pay on sniff. So we might have that larva in a jar, which I have some right here, by the way. And we might just start by putting that on the ground and a treat on top. So they're self-rewarding, right? But it's pay on sniff. We want to start them associating the reward with the scent. And so that is a lot of what's happening here is in this video is odor recognition. And again, learning, right? Ball versus treat, that kind of thing. And here's our team, except minus the dogs. So that's half our team, I should say. Yeah. And then the other thing that we need to figure out in our training is their final alert, which is how do they tell us when they've found the target odor? And so, you know, we use different containers. In this case, we're using boxes. And you'll be able to tell me when Minnow finds the box that has the target odor in it. See right there, she gave me her alert, which is a sit. And all of our dogs have different alerts. Sunny has a down. And in fact, I think everybody else has a down as their alert. But so this was a process. We had to figure out, you know, what was the right alert for the dog. And we let the dog show us, right? We work with the dog. What makes the most sense for the dog? Here's another one. And you don't need to hear this. You're fine. Yeah. So this is Rafi and Lan. Boom. So that's his alert and then his ball reward. And you want to make sure that's all happening at the beginning really closely together, like instantaneously. Then we progressed to what we call container searches. So we use these paint buckets and do a lineup, and not every bucket has the odor in it. They have to figure out which one it's in. There's Sunny giving us her down alert. And here is Brego, you know, working the lineup. And this was early on, so sometimes you need to lead them on the lineup and get them, you know, as they start figuring it out, and they do really quickly. But that was important because now we are doing actually container searches in the environment. So this was a search Brego did a couple weeks ago, actually, these big containers, potted plants, which we've learned earlier from our CRB Hawaii team on Oahu, that they have found breeding, you know, larvae in these kind of containers. In this case, I also ran Minnow, neither one of them alerted. So, but that was just how we progressed with some of the training to give you an idea. A fun video. You don't. So here you can see, this was, Kyoko put it on Instagram. It just shows some of the steps that we're taking. So this is also a plug to follow Conservation Dogs Hawaiʻi on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Facebook. She has, Kyoko runs all three of those social media sites. So you can keep up to date on what we're doing. But some of the points in there was, you know, we're taking step by step and layering like she talked about. So now we're gonna start environmental searches here. So now we've jumped from paint buckets, right? And I skipped a few steps here, but this is actually what we would be encountering in the field. So these are true mulch piles. This is Rafi doing a search with Lan. And you'll see when he makes his final alert. No, this one is a hot site. Yeah. We do continue to, if we will work a site that the dogs don't find anything, yes, we will put a target out for them at some point, and there's his alert. And then here's his reward. There he goes after the ball. Like, you want to make sure you're out of the way. Yeah, that ball. I've been standing there because we video for each other, right? So that it's for training. And I've been standing videoing, and then the ball comes at me and I literally have to get out of the way. I'm sorry. What do we do when the dog finds a larva? What do we do with the larva? Let's get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that. That's a good question. The other question is, what if the dogs find a hot site where there's larva? What happens? Yeah. Here's another environmental search. This is Sunny in the back of the room with Matt. And this again is a traditional mulch pile, fairly big one. And here she finds, this actually was part of our certification training. So this is a hide. So this is a container, either a jar like this with stainless steel lid to allow scent to escape. But we learned that if we use like just window screen, metal window screen, the larva can chew through it.
Wow.
So we do not want to be doing that. But we also use things like this is a stainless steel T-ball. And we try to mix up the containers when we're training. We also had a wooden like bamboo that had holes in it, really thick wood that they weren't able to chew through. But we do that because we don't want the dogs keying in on the containers. We want them to be keying in on the scent of the larva. So another thing we do when we're training, and I'm obviously not doing it tonight, but we will use gloves to handle the jars before we put them out. And that is, again, to keep my scent off. So that, again, they're not searching for my scent and alerting on my scent. We want to make sure they are distinguishing the prop. Oh, there she goes again. Good find.
Good dog.
Did she get in a treat back there, Matt? And then here's another environmental search from a different angle. This actually, we had a drone operator with us, and he was taking these drone imagery, and this is Grego. This again was in a certification run trial, so it is a planted hide. Yep, there he goes. So you can see his down, right? The other tells we start noticing from our dogs is Grego will do this. I think Sunny does this too, right, Matt? Well, they'll paw at it. Like they'll be like, oh, I think I smell it. And they'll start pawing at it. And it's one of two things. One, they either want a visual on it for confirmation, or they're like aerating. Like, let's get some of that scent going a little stronger so I'm more confident to make a decision here. And Minnow will do things like she'll look back at me. You can also tell by their tail wag. You know, there's lots of tells, the body language, and that's part of the 6 to 8 month training is learning to read your dog and to be able to communicate together. So the tail wag, and is it low? Is it high? Is it doing the helicoptering? Those are all tells. You can also watch their breath rate, right? So you want to have a good eye on, got to have your eyes on your dog the whole time as safe, if that's safe. Sometimes you got to watch your own footing too. Let's see, what do I have next? Oh. So that was our certification. That was a celebration. And that was in November. A couple of the things that one pointed out that I have not mentioned yet is some of our training is kind of desensitization to other distractions. So that could be barking dogs that are around. It could be chickens. It could be pigs. And it could be cats. My dog does not like cats. And so if we're surveying in an area where there's cat scent, there have been cats, they don't even need to be present. She knows. And I can tell by reading her body language and the way she pulls on her lead that she's got to give her time to settle in. You know, if I like to let her to get to know a place, right? And she does that with smelling. So sometimes it's a matter of a sniff walk before we actually start a survey. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah.
Is the certification that you're getting from Conservation Dogs, or is it
Yes,
someone?
the question is the certification that we're getting, is it from Conservation Dogs of Hawaii? And the answer is yes. And the cool thing that Kyoko did with this program is she brought people from the outside in. So she was training us, Marley, who's with USDA, the actual CRB dog handler on Oahu. They were our main trainers, but then we had evaluators come in and observers that came in. I mean, one weekend we actually trained with KPD, so Kaua'i Police Department canine officers, right? And they gave us little insights and tips. And then we had people come in from the dogs here that work with the botulism who came in and shadowed us. So, and then we also had a woman who's with the KSAR, Kauai Search and Rescue. So, but yes, then all of that goes down and, you know, we get certified. And the certification comes through Conservation Dogs Hawaiʻi. Yes. So now we are certified to survey, and where do we go from here? Ideally, we put a request out oh, hang on, no. This QR code, it will take you to kind of a short questionnaire if you are interested in having the dog team come out and survey your property. That QR code will take you to that document to fill out. It will go to one of my team members and they will get in touch with you. Now, that said, these are the high priority potential breeding sites. These are the kind of areas that we will bring dogs in. What we're looking for are things like there's palm material present, there's moisture present, there's decomposition happening, and that there's organic material like with smaller pieces. And if there's OFB larval present. So OFB is another beetle on the island, non-native, and it stands for Oriental Flower Beetle. And in its larval stage, it looks very similar to the CRB first instar stage. So people can be working in their garden and they dig up an OFB and oh my gosh, it's not necessarily CRB. So you can go again to the website that I mentioned earlier, crbhawaii.org, and they've got lookalikes for you. And they've got information that will help you identify, is this CRB or is this OFB? But the important thing to know is if there's OFB present, they like the same type of breeding material that CRB like. So these are the kind of things we look for. If you have a yard that's perfectly manicured, there's no yard waste or green waste piling up that's been there more than 4 months, say, you're probably fine. That's not a high priority area. So these are kind of the places and the areas that we're targeting. So with that said, we do have dogs ready to survey, and we are all volunteer program. I don't know if that was mentioned before or not. And we have a lot of people to thank for this. I mean, we have a lot of people to thank for this because this is a community-wide effort. So Conservation Dogs Hawaiʻi, Kyoko, and Marley for taking time out of their lives to come over here on weekends and train with us. The County of Kaua'i Office of Economic Development provided the grant for us to be able to bring Kyoko and Marley over here. And then Canine Incentive is a dog hand. Laura Lee Oliver came in from California to help train with us one weekend. Hawaii Invasive Species Committee, I work for them. We would go train on their property up at CTARP, College of Tropical Ag and Human Resilience. And there's many more people to thank, people's properties that we worked on and trained on, but we consider that very private, so I'm not gonna out them here. Yeah. And with that, I'm happy to take questions if you have any. In the back.
You guys do for mulch?
I'm sorry, what do we
How do
do?
you address
How do we
mulch facility?
So the question is, how do we address mulch companies that are in the business of making mulch? Did I get that correct?
Yeah, like the amount of mulch that's on the ground.
The only thing we do, we are just to say, is there CRB larva present or not? That's all we do.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, like, have you guys been there? We got 2 big ones.
We have lots of big ones here. And in fact, our entire island, it can be considered a giant mulch pile because there's valleys, where there's more of the rural community. And here's Sunny. Let's get Sunny on camera. Tell us, Louise, hang on.
Those big facilities aren't much of a difference, you're saying, compared to like just a natural background state of like compost.
But they could both be, hi, sweetie. They could both be breeding sites. And yes, we'll go in there and survey for sure.
We're reaching out to everybody to let them know that we're willing to do a survey and that it's not a no, say down. It's preventative. It's not like if you have them, then
yeah, it's not regulatory or anything.
Bad or like a.
If if you have, if those organizations, entities, companies want us to come in and survey, we're happy to come in. They just need to reach out to us.
Got it, okay.
Yes. Okay.
But there,
Oh, another one. What if we just come through once we find out with like some chickens?
I'm sorry?
it
Oh.
depends on the depth of the mulch pile. So
Yeah.
ideally that you keep your mulch spread out and thin. But if it gets too deep, chickens won't dig deep, pigs won't dig deep. They'll be in there at depth and they won't be found. So
Yeah.
if you,
You know what? It all depends on the substrate, and it depends, like on in a tree stump that was above ground. I think Marley said they found something a couple feet
Yep.
down. Generally, though, a foot, I would
so
say.
they love to be in between the soil and the mulch in a moist layer, but they are in the pile. We found them up high, in the middle. They have their ideal spot, but we'll find them all over the place. And too hot, they will not like it. But
Kill the larva
but it's
Yeah.
130 degrees is their max
for
temperature.
a period of time. Yeah.
I know.
High speed. Yeah, there was another question here, I think. Minnow, hush. That we, again, we're just, yes, you have them, or no, we didn't find any this time. But then it is up to the property owner to decide what to do. And I have brochures actually that the Kauai Office of Economic Development produced that helps answer some of those questions. Everybody's situation is different, whether you're a farmer, a homeowner, whether you're using your coconut, say, for eating or just for, beauty. Everybody has a different response to it. And unfortunately, there's no one silver bullet. There's no one answer. What I recommend is you take a multitude of approaches to it. Don't just rely on one thing. There's many things. Krista.
In your slideshow, you talked about other targets, other food items that it avoids, not coconut. And I've seen it physically on Hala, like on the airport, but what else is other than?
So to reiterate the question for those people on Zoom, the question is, have we seen it in our work, CRB, munching on other things besides coconut palms? And honestly, we don't get to that end of the process, right? So we're more focused on the larval stage before they become an adult, before they're munching on something. So that's not, we don't have as many eyes on that, right? We're looking at the ground. We're not looking up as much. But I personally have not seen anything besides coconut palms and lolu and other non-native fan palms. Hala, like you say. I'm not,
Well, we
have you
hear
seen
they're-
banana?
I have not, but we hear they're willing and able to go to other trees.
Yeah. But good question. Yeah. It's crazy how much we're learning about this. We're like,
Pretty new
we
stuff.
just like our dogs and want to work with our dogs. And it's like, oh God, we have to learn a whole lot about this disease cycle. Yes, you had a question?
So mainly your services kind of works out of request, not like you don't have the authority to tell someone need this survey done.
No, we don't have any. So the question is, our services are, do we have the authority to go into somebody and say, we need the survey? No, we don't. It's all voluntary at this point in time. We're a nonprofit. People request for us to come in, sure. If you know of a situation, because we've certainly been out on properties and they're like, yeah, well, there's this property back there and they got this giant mulch pile, then we'll be like neighbor to neighbor, right? Approach them, because honestly, you guys are here because you're somehow aware of CRB and have heard about it. So thank you. And then what you go back to your neighborhoods and share, is so important. So each one of you potentially represents then outreach to 10 more people. So but there are people
She's
on the
so
island who
antisocial.
don't know anything about CRB. So there could be somebody, a neighbor who's got a giant mulch pile that they just need to, like, hey, have you searched, do you know about this kind of thing? Hi, girl. Yes, in the back.
Two questions. One, is there any thought of writing like a bill or some kind of municipal pressure to finding these guys using your service? And two, I forgot the second one. Maybe
All right, I'll answer that one first. Well, you think about the second one. So the question is there a bill or some sort of legislative process to require our services? No, not that I know of. Not that I know of.
Is the county council on, you said across the table?
The county council is heavily involved. Fern Holland is very knowledgeable about this problem and has been since almost day one. And she is seeking solutions for us as a community on this island. Not just her though, the entire county council is there, and then the mayor's office. Yeah.
I remember the second one. Real quick, how do you treat the larvae when you find them?
How do you treat the larvae when you find it? We don't. That is up to the property owner. We're basically saying, yes, you have it, or no, we didn't find it this time, but just because we didn't find it this time doesn't mean there isn't some there. Need to come back and check again. But there's, like I said, there's a whole multitude of responses that somebody can take if they have larvae. In general, one of the things that we do encourage people, because we get asked these questions when we're out surveying, if you have a mulch pile, well, first of all, green waste management is of the utmost importance. The utmost importance. That is the first thing you should be doing. That means removing it off your property. And then if you have mulch piles, because we have lots of farmers who use mulch for farming, turn those mulch piles like once a month, because maybe you have eggs in there that the dogs weren't, there's only one or two, not a strong enough scent for the dogs to pick up. Turn those mulch piles regularly. That will get, and that will help dry out the mulch piles. So like Matt was saying, the CRB like moist, cool, damp environments, right? So if you turn it regularly, thin it if you can. The recommendation out of crbhawaii.org is that 1 to 2 inches thin, right?
Some people are putting nets over their pile so the adults can't escape. So
Or
if you have
come
a
in.
certain size, or to come in and lay the eggs either.
So
Then there's different people doing different things with pesticides.
Yep.
Not so much for the larva though, more for the trees.
Right.
And then Lance, one of the guys who volunteers with Conservation Dogs of Hawaii, is starting a business to steam mulch piles. So he's tarping them, steaming them, totally pesticide free. He puts a tarp, has a steam generator, and then he has a bunch of temperature gauges, and he makes sure it gets up to a certain temperature across the pile. And so far, so good.
He's having really
taking
good luck
care of-
with that. Yeah.
Arbor-free.
Who do we notify? We don't notify anybody. That's not our role. Okay, hang on. Question was, who do we notify? And then your question is? Do we know what?
No.
Do we know?
Call it a term of exterminator.
Oh, if somebody has larvae on their property, again, lots of options. And you could steam them like Matt just, you could turn it, you could literally go through your piles and clean them. It all depends on how big they are, right? Yeah. Pull out the larva, which by the way, I brought some to show you. Step on them, or what I'll do, because, oh, look at you.
Yeah. Problem is that if you have a lot of unmanaged mulch piles for a long time, it's people that have been just pushing mulch over their cliff or edge for a while. And
can you see that, Louise?
So there's different problems that are going to be hard to manage. But there's definitely people out there that are
One of the things, yes, David, go ahead.
What about the virus or anything? That going anywhere?
I knew you'd want to hold it. Yes, in fact, it is. So there is a biocontrol that actually, so CRB, like we mentioned, comes out of Southeast Asia. That's where it is native, but it has been in the South Pacific, American and Western Samoa, Guam, a couple other places for some decades. And they have done some research into biocontrols, and there's a virus, right, that they had success with. Unfortunately, from what I understand, that virus does not really work on our beetles here because, like anything, what beetles do is they evolve, right? So their genetics have changed. So it's not as effective. However, there is science being done into perhaps a nortavirus that would be effective here on the beetles that we have. All in the works. I wouldn't, my guess, best case scenario, that it might be a couple of 3 years before something like that would be ready to roll out across the landscape. So it's not an immediate answer, but at least it gives us hope for the future. Yes, comment.
You know what year it was identified on Oahu?
Correct. Yes, I do. What year was it identified on Oahu? It was 2013. Yeah.
Trying to get a sense of where we are.
We're 10 years behind them. Yeah. But, you know, we're also in a better situation than they are in that they've had 10 years of experience with it. So we're benefiting from that. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, David.
Make one comment about a couple of questions. You guys asked it. When in the very beginning, my wife was saying we're looking for places to you know, practice. And we went to a couple of big places that you guys can bring up, and very often you find out even with seabirds that businesses don't want people finding bad things.
Absolutely.
And they can be very resistant.
Yeah.
So what's your question?
I was just thinking.
So the comment, no, because it's a great comment. The comment was when David and Deborah Gocross, who did the proof of concept study with the CRB detection with dogs, that was a year to 2 years ago that was happening, and that was a whole different situation with CRB on Kaua'i. This is typical with invasive species. I can speak to this, right? Because I've seen it with other invasive species. When it's the first or the second detection on an island, people are a little sensitive about it because they feel bad. Is it something I did wrong? Is there shame involved in it? Perhaps. Now it's so pervasive on this island. You know, I mean, if you're like Matt and I, we're like driving around, oh yeah, there it is, we got damage here. You'll start to do that now too, which is a good thing because education is important. But now much less of that response, David, that we're getting. People want us to come out. They want to know. So that's sadly, that's a positive, but it's only a positive because it's become the distribution and so much more widespread. Yes, Krista.
So I know your team is focused on pheasant absence.
Yes.
Specifically.
Yes.
However,
yeah.
In your interactions, what are we talking about the sense of overcoming this or
so the question is, where do we feel like, since we're familiar with this problem, do we feel like we are at with containment, eradication? And what people tell us on Kaua'i is that it's too late to eradicate containment. And that's why we all have to be all the more vigilant. And the other key thing, sorry, did I interrupt you? Is that if you, like I live in an area where, you know, it's not small pieces of property, it's almost 2 acres, and neighbors have that size, but it's not like just me responding to it on my property.
Right.
It has to be the entire community, all your neighbors. This is one of those things where we all need to come together. And in this scenario, with where we are on Kaua'i, it's an island-wide response. Yeah. Sunny is in full agreement, right, girl?
Yeah, it's a little frustrating because it's even in the time when we were training, it was just spreading, and it's like,
yeah,
oh my God, like, wow, it's just moving fast. So trying to do our best.
More comment, not. Basically, this isn't going to be the last thing. Like, what is being done at that level? And then dogs doing XYZ, that's great. Dogs over.
Yeah.
Right. So, you got any idea what's happening at the larger level?
Well, there's a lot of, I've heard some.
Let's repeat the question
Okay.
for the Zoomers. The question in the comment is, obviously CRB is not the first or going to be, is not the last invasive species to come into our islands. What's being done at the larger level to prevent any more? Is that a good, okay. What were you gonna say?
I don't know.
You don't know? Oh,
Not a very good question for us, but I mean, we've been involved in this for a while now, and we've heard of many downfalls on that level that, you know, we can't do anything about that. I mean, that would be a very good place to focus our efforts to try and mitigate it before it actually comes. And in various instances, it hasn't happened, and now we're dealing with it. So
I will say though, in my other job, working at Kaua'i Invasive Species Committee, I'm a little more familiar with some of those things that are going on. And I would encourage all of you, we are in legislative season right now. I would encourage all of you to educate yourself and get involved, because our voices are so important. The squeakier our wheel becomes, the more our representatives will do something, right? If we're not speaking up. That said, I do believe because of CRB and little fire ants, which you may hear people talk about as LFA, because of those two invasive species in particular, in the last 2 years, I have started seeing more happening at the legislative level to address biosecurity, which is what you're talking about. And in fact, HDOA, Hawaii Department of Ag, last year through legislative season, renamed themselves and changed their, or increased their responsibility, I guess, or kuleana. And their name change is now Hawaii Department of Ag and Biosecurity. So they go by HDAB instead of HDOA now. So there is more attention and awareness, honestly, because of CRB and LFA. And LFA, if you're not, that's not on your radar, it should be. And if you come back next month, you'll hear from my colleague, Halen Chalk, who I'm sure will talk about LFA. But excellent question. We all need to educate ourselves at that legislative level. There are bills in the process right now that will help with biosecurity. Yeah. Yeah, just, okay, 1, 2, 3.
Not that there are any burning questions online. I just wanted to involve all the people online. There's been a lot of comments. Thank you very much for the presentation. I also had some interest requesting a survey. So I've given them the request form, the Hawaii request form, and special thanks to Minnow and Sunny as well as
Minnow and Sunny, yeah. Thank you, Louise. Yes, I'm going to you next.
Thinking tree, golf, old tree, the younger, more vigorous tree, less susceptible to the beetle.
That's a really great question. Do you have, you know? The question, to reiterate, don't forget, is there a difference perhaps in age of a coconut tree in their response to the beetle? Like younger versus older tree is stronger and more resistant?
Don't know a lot about it, but healthy trees are more resistant to pests. But depending on the pest, if it's too virulent, then
I think too, the you know, our coconut palm trees basically have a single stem, and they have that what's called a meristem, I believe. And if it happens to be that the adult beetle chomps in the wrong spot, it could kill the tree faster than even if there were multiple beetles, but they happen to be noshing in different areas. So, but age of, that's a great question. Yeah.
and the number of beetles that maybe,
Yeah.
you know, age of the tree, the health of the tree versus how many are gonna attack it.
Mm-hmm.
The number of factors.
Yeah, but once the tree gets, like I think I already mentioned, once a tree gets, you know, attacked, that beetle, it doesn't just stay in that one tree. And that is why you can't just respond to a single tree, right? It has to be, yeah, an entire community. Another question in the back.
Yeah, I'll almost even answer that a little bit in my experience. Called pest pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So ecologically, it's kind of like a probability.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sick plants give off sick pheromones. Insects are mostly blind, they go off. So I think it's just a likelihood thing. But yeah, healthy plants probably help. But anyway, real quick, what's the, like, is there like kind of a centralized, like, who's the head to this body? Who are all the action, CBR action on Kaua'i? Who's the head? Is it Fern? Like, who would you go to like?
For what?
Like, kind of just, maybe just to help and contribute. Like, it seems like there might be a little opportunity to make like almost like a little community app, or some way everybody can be plugged into the CBR effort. Organizing, everybody can access, it's easy.
That
Something to centralize
the question is there a centralized source basically for the people on this island to go to? And that actually has been a challenge. And there's been a lot of community response and people popping up that we've seen trying to address that. But I'm going to pass these around right now for those of you at home. I believe you can find these online at Kauai'iForward.com. You put that link in the chat, Louise. And so these brochures were funded and produced by the County of Kaua'i. Oh, thank you. The Office of Economic Development. And there's an email on the back who you can reach out to. Nikki is the representative of that organization. And Fern is another source that you could reach out to for sure.
Yeah. Because how cool would it be if somebody could just log in and say, I'm here, and find people who are offering to eradicate the beetle? Because that's really, like, you guys are offering good service, but to like tie it into the sequence of treating the issue in totality.
Again, it's so complicated, and everybody has different, every landowner and property owner has different preferences on what they want and what they're using their coconuts for. So I would recommend, if you want education and information, crbhawaii.org has a ton of information. You could spend days on their website, and it's solid, right? They're not going to put anything out that they don't haven't really tested, right, and shown the results. And then I would say the two people on island, if you want, is Nikki with Office of Economic Development, and Fern on our Kauai County Council. Would be two good people. Yeah. Did everybody? Yeah.
Okay, so one last thing. So between your current experience with like finding, we actually find the larvae, have you seen like a trend in type of breeding?
Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
So far, mostly we've been training, and we've just recently begun the surveys. So there hasn't been very much observation on our part as far as breeding material and survey site. We're just beginning that part now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, to answer your question, I haven't either. Yeah, it's the prime breeding habitat is mulch. And then I would, yeah, I don't even know what I'd put second. Just big
Compost.
Yeah, compost, right? Yeah, and then the green waste piles that we let, you know, the corner of our property that we just used to always throw our palm fronds and stuff in. Yeah. David.
The Amazon site.
The new, no. Have we been to the new Amazon site? It took me a second to really even know what you were talking about. No, we have not. I have not. Have you?
No.
Yeah.
Pretty much clear cut though.
It's pretty, yeah.
Huge mulch piles over there. Couple trees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before there was huge mulch piles. I think it's got a minute now.
We need as a contact. We need a contact at Hokuala and places like that too.
Yeah,
because they have the big gardens and some damage.
Yeah, the more you guys can recommend, you know, if you know people at these areas, people who work there, obviously somebody works there, you know, and maybe they just, again, aren't aware of the problem and or that we are here to help. Do we want to try a demo?
Good try. See if people are.
So I know that you guys have lots of great questions. Does anybody want to see a demo? Like the dogs in action? Sunny, you want to work?
Yes, she does.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
She said, does it involve treats? Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put. So I just
But
go right
just
in.
want to say
Oh.
all of this starts
Oh,
with
sorry, Zoom people.
all this starts with awareness. So my gosh, what a great discussion, what great questions. Really appreciate everyone's interest in this and helping to spread the word. I guess that's what we're here to do
Yes.
tonight, is to raise awareness and help spread the word. So thank you all. My goodness.
Thank you.
Volunteers, thank you so much.
Thanks for inviting us. Yeah. Thank you on Zoom.
Thank you so much, Zoom. Aloha.
Okay. Yeah, so
Let's do some work.
I'll put my job.